And we're live. Good morning, everyone. Good day, wherever you are, and whichever time it is where you are. Welcome to this live stream of Tutor and openedx. Full disclaimer, I didn't prepare a lot for this stream, which is not very professional, I guess. So since I didn't prepare very much, I will do what I'm best at, which is hacking on Tutor and its plugins. So last week, there was a request to showcase how to create a new plugin for Tutor. And so the idea is to go through the whole process of creating a plugin from scratch and explain the different steps. And that's a good idea, so I think we'll do that today. So I tried to think of a good plugin to develop live. It's something that has to be not too complex, but also sufficiently complex that the implementation is interesting. And I want to get ideas from you guys. So if you have things that you would like to see develop, then please mention them in the chat. Otherwise, what I thought I would do is to create a plugin that will deploy next to openedx and with Tutor a live status page for your platform. A status page is something that says, hey, your website is up and running, or it is unavailable, it is failing, and this is the reason why. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I go to status.github.com, I hope that works. I hope it does. Yes, GitHub status. So the actual address is githubstatus.com. It shows that Git operations are normal. There's no scheduled maintenance. So everything should be working just fine. So what I would like to do is to deploy such an application for your openedx platform, saying, okay, the LMS is working, the CMS is working, maybe the e-commerce is working if you're using this. So, okay, second confession, I have never actually deployed a status page. I did some Googling before this live stream, and I stumbled upon Cachet, which is an open source status page system for everyone. So I suggest we deploy this next to openedx and with Tutor. Now, of course, it's a terrible idea to host a status page on the same server as your main application, because if the server where your live application runs goes down, then your status page goes down as well. So this will not be a true, well, it's not going to be a real, really useful plugin, but I think it's interesting to create that for learning purposes. As usual, feel free to ask as many questions as you need during the stream. I have the chat window next to my monitor. There may be a lag between the moment when you write the question and the moment when I see it and you get the answer. But I'll do my best to answer as fast as I can. If you like what you see, you can support this project. How can you help? Go to the Tutor forums and check out how you can help the project. Among other things, you can become a developer or a maintainer. subscribe to a commercial edition license, or send me something from my Amazon wishlist. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so how do we install this thing? Cachet. It runs on PHP. It requires a SQL database. So this is good. It can use MySQL, which means that we can use the same MySQL database as the openedx platform. Again, not something that you want to do in a real production environment, but hey, I think this is going to be interesting. And the good thing is that there's a getting started with Docker, which means that it will be easier to deploy with Tutor, because Tutor, of course, runs on Docker. I see there are a few viewers here on YouTube. Don't be afraid to say hi. Don't be shy if you're listening. Okay, getting started with Docker. And we are going to create a plugin. So I'm going to start a plugin environment. Let me show you my desktop. Can you see my screen well enough? I just increased the font size. I'm going to create a plugin, so I will go to my plugins folder. And the way to create a plugin is to, as usual, follow the documentation. Hi, Sofiane. Good to see you, as always. So how do we create a plugin? We go to the docs in plugin development, getting started with plugin development. And there's here somewhere a Tutor plugin cookie cutter, which is what we want to use. So we are going to create a plugin. There you go. Yes, re-download it. How are we going to call this this plugin? Cachet or status? Or status page, or uptime, Tutor, live status. I think status is good. Yeah, I think status is good. It's simple, and if we want to switch from cachet to something else, then we're not bound to. We don't have to keep the same name. Let's do this. We're going to call it. So the package will be Tutor status, and module will be Tutor status. Get repo will be https github.com/overhang.io/tutor status. Author is overhang.io, which is my company. License AGPL. And we go to tutor status. And if we follow the instructions from the cookie cutter, we can install this plugin, the plugins list, and we can see that the status plugin is here. It's disabled, so let's enable it. For plugins, enable status, and I will also disable another plugin that I'm currently working on. Now I run tutor config save. And we can start hacking on the plugin. So let's get started. We don't want to see this. We don't want to see this. We don't need edX platform, and I don't think we will need. Oh, I can keep the Tutor project in my IDE. Okay, I will git init a repo here. And let's take a look at this plugin file. So I upgraded my IDE and the theme, the colors changed. I'm not sure they are quite readable. I'll try, you know what, I'll try to totally the right time to modify the theme for your for my IDE. Totally the right time. I want to use the monogai theme. Editor, no, wait, what's that? Themes, UI theme, yes. Syntax theme, I want to use atom monogai, yes. Is this thing on? Yes, this is probably more readable. Do you like the dark, the dark background? Is this good? That doesn't seem very readable to me. Atom monogai. Serialized dark, yes. No, much worse. Totally the right time to change the theme. Oh. Okay, monogai. Let's get to it. Sorry about that. So now when we check our plugins, we can see that the status plugin is enabled, but it doesn't do anything yet. So the first thing that we want to do is to actually run a cachet, the cachet Docker container. So let's see how these people run cachet. So the manual from the cachet docs tell us to clone this repo. Let's check out what's in there. There's a Docker Compose file, which we are going to copy some parts from. So nice and simple, just like just what I like. There's just a Postgres service and a cache service, and that's it. And all configuration is sent to cache via environment variables, which is great. Okay, so what we want to do is to tell Tutor, okay, Tutor, we want to launch a cache container whenever we run Tutor local start and Tutor local quick start. So we're not going to do a Kubernetes development here because I don't have a Kubernetes cluster running here. And also I always start development of a plugin with local development, and once local deployment works, I migrate the patches to Kubernetes. So what we want to do is to tell Tutor, okay, run this container. And the way we're going to do this is to tell the plugin, okay, you should use one of the Tutor patches. And for that, you should check out the Tutor local Docker Compose .yaml file. And in there are listed all the services. So this is not a working Docker Compose file, it's a template, which will be rendered by Tutor whenever you run tutor config save. And at the very bottom of this file, there's this patch local Docker Compose services, which means that if my plugin implements this patch, then the content will be automatically added to the rendered template whenever I run tutor config save. Let's take a look at this, and you will see if this is not clear right now, let's implement this patch and you will understand what I mean. So right now, when I go to my rendered tutor environment, tutor local share tutor env, in local there is a Docker Compose file which is the rendered file from this template. And if I implement this patch, some content will be added at the bottom of this rendered template. So let's implement this patch. To implement this patch, the plugin exposes the patches functions, and what it does is to search inside the patches folder of this plugin and look for all files. And whenever there's a file, it considers that the name of the file is actually the name of the patch. So I will create a file there named local Docker Compose services. And I will add some random content there, foobar. And now, when I run tutor config save, and now when I cat my docker compose.yaml file, we can see that foobar is at the end of the rendered docker compose.yaml file. So this is how patches work in Tutor plugins. So what we need to do is to add to this patch the declaration for our cachet container. And for that, I copy paste this status page cachet container. And now when I run tutor config save, I can see that the cache container configuration is included in the rendered Docker Compose.yaml file. Awesome, awesome. Except that we will have to modify all this image configuration because, well, it's probably not going to work very well. So let's get to it. Let's start from the top. Here it says, okay, we need to build a Docker image, which is located here, and build the image using this version. This is not what we want to do. We don't want people to build the cache image whenever they install the plugin. We want to pull the image from somewhere else. So let's see if there is a cache image somewhere. Yes. Cache HQ/Docker is available at Docker Hub Trusted Build. And this is where they store the cache image. So we want, and there are releases for this image, and we want to pull the latest one, so 2.3.18. So here we're going to replace this by image docker.io slash cache HQ/Docker colon how much did I say? 2.3.18. And we can get rid of this part. I prefer 4 spaces indentation, so let's do this. And then I'm going to comment out this. This is not going to work. To comment this out. There you go. So let's run tutor config save. No, here. Yeah, no, I have to do it to this here, or tutor. I need to run in this virtual environment, otherwise the plugin is not detected. And now, yes, I can see the cache image here. So I'm going to try to pool this image because I need to check how big it is, and if my internet bandwidth is going to allow pulling this image while I live stream. So let's try this. Docker image pull. So how big is this? Oh, I can see how big it is here. So 112 megabytes. Shouldn't be. Am I going to be able to download and live stream at the same time? Okay, so while it downloads, I can still edit the Docker Compose configuration. So I'm not going to expose any port. Instead, it's going to be the Caddy web server, which intercepts all requests to the cachet URL, and which will forward all requests to the cachet container. So let's remove this. Links. Links, this is an obsolete statement, which was superseded by depends on. And so cachet will depend on MySQL, and that's it. And restart policy is, we can see here that I always use the restart unless stopped policy for the other services. Okay, so we can get rid of the links statement. What about the environment? Environment, DB driver is not going to be Postgres. It's going to be MySQL. I assume it's MySQL, I guess. DB host. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. DB host is usually MySQL, because it's the MySQL container. But many people run MySQL as a separate database, which is not hosted by Tutor. Which is why in Tutor, in the Tutor config, there is a MySQL host here, which is by default MySQL, but can be something else. And this is also why there's this run MySQL configuration parameter, which says if this is false, well, just do not run a MySQL container. See here, if run MySQL here is false, and the MySQL container is not run by Tutor. So in the cache configuration, the DB host is not MySQL, it's the MySQL host. And this is, remember, this is a template. This is not a working Docker Compose file. DB port, similarly, this is configurable. So this is going to be MySQL port. And DB database, weird. It's strange to name this Postgres. So this is probably going to be something like cachet. We're going to create a MySQL database, which will be named cachet. But we also want people to be able to customize this. So what we're going to do is to make this a parameter of the plugin. So in the plugin configuration, I'm going to create an additional configuration entry, a configuration entry, which will be let's find a name, DB name, or how do we name the other databases names? openedx, MySQL. Okay, so this is the name for the openedx database. Let's pick a name that is similar. So I will name this MySQL database. I will name this MySQL database. And by default, this will be cachet. So here, so let's try to understand what this means. this creates a variable which is named not MySQL database, but status underscore MySQL database. This is because Tutor prefixes all variables added to this configuration by the name of the plugin in uppercase with an underscore. So for instance, if I do here tutor config print value tutor config print value MySQL database, this is not going to work. Missing configuration value MySQL database. However, if I do status MySQL database, okay, this doesn't work either. Is it because I didn't save this? Now this is interesting. Tutor config. Wait, let's check out the Tutor docs. Docs, plugins, API, configuration. Okay, so here I wrote default and it should be defaults. So defaults include configuration values that you usually do not want to set for every installation. Okay, I'll explain this later. Let's just check that this is working. Okay, tutor config print value, and this now works. And this is actually cachet. So we can write this in the Docker Compose configuration as status MySQL database. The thing is that if these values are not, these default values are not stored inside the config.yaml file. So here in this config.yaml file, there is no status variable. And this is there are many cases for many configuration variables. This is perfectly fine. For static values like that, it's fine. If you want to set a different value, you can always config save set status MySQL database equals foobar, and now you can grab the status MySQL database configuration variable in the config, and it's there. And I can remove it with unset. So by default, this variable is not stored in config.yaml, but sometimes you need to store passwords. So if you create here a new secret password and you want this to be generated, random string, so how do we use this again? Random string, yes. We pass the length of the random string. So if I do this, then every time tutor config print value status password. So if I run this command twice, then the password is regenerated at every time because it is not saved in config.yaml. And of course, this is not going to work for you. So in order to store generated strings that you need to be fixed, set in stone, then you need to move these variables to the added configuration variables. Does this make sense? I hope it does. So this is all explained in the Tutor docs. Anyway, we don't need this variable for now, so let's remove it. And let's keep going with our configuration. So we are going to use a dedicated username to connect to our database. Again, it's going to be a dedicated username, status MySQL username. And let's add this. Username is going to be the same cachet. And we're going to have to create this user in the MySQL database. So for that, we take a look at the MySQL init statement. So this is an initialization hook where we can add arbitrary code which will be run in MySQL during initialization. So basically, every time we run tutor local init or tutor local quick start, these statements are run. And we want to we want to create a user. So how do we do that? Damn it. So it's not in MySQL init. Oh yeah, there it is. Port create database, grant all to user, and we want to emulate this behavior and create cache database and user. So let's create a MySQL init hook. For that, we go to the templates folder of the status plugin. Inside the hooks. How do you spell that? I don't know. Hooks. Hook. Yeah, I think it's hook. What's the name of this film with Robin Williams and playing Peter Pan? Hook? Yeah, Hook, I think. Anyways, so in there, let's create a MySQL folder, an init script, and in there, I will add the cache database. So running as MySQL root, I will create a database which will not be the openedx MySQL database, but the status MySQL database, and grant all on status MySQL database to status MySQL username. And here you see the point of having consistent variable names, where I just have to replace openedx by status, and it should just match. So if I run tutor config save, is this thing working? Yes, it's working. So whenever we run init, our init script here should actually create the database. So wait a second. For that, we actually need to declare that there is a hook, and this is how we declare hooks. It's in the documentation, as always. We say that there's an init hook for the MySQL service. And now, when I run tutor local init limit equals cache, it will run all init scripts, but only for this plugin. So tutor. So in order for init to start, we need to have a running platform. So I will run tutor local start the MySQL, and so I will start the MySQL container, demonize it. This is what the -d option does, and run initialization for this for the cache plugin. that did not work. Interesting. To a local init. So it did not find out that there is a MySQL. Why isn't there a MySQL? Why doesn't it detect the MySQL plugin? Sure, plugins list. Oh no, so the name, we need to pass here the name of the plugin, and it's not cachet, it's status. And here we need the status MySQL password. Good catch. Yes, we need to define the MySQL password. So let's see if everyone followed here. Should I write this? Random string. Is this a good idea? No, this is not a good idea, because this is going to change every time I run tutor config save. I see Sofiane is following. That's good. So I should add this variable here, and now I should be able to run init. And yes, here I can see that the database was created, and also a cache user identified by this variable, which should correspond to the MySQL, the status MySQL password. Let's check this out. Status MySQL password. No, not the same at all. Oh, that's because I didn't save. Oh God, that's terrible. I should have saved. And now we have yet another value. And the good thing is that we can run init again, and it will change the password. Yeah. So now we have the same password here and here. Okay, tricky, isn't it? So maybe I should have named this value, this database status and not cachet. I think that would be a better name. On the other hand, this is really bound to the cachet application, but it makes it more difficult for people to administer the MySQL database. So I think I will rename this database status and not cachet. Same for the username. And I will manually drop the MySQL database and user. So for that I run the MySQL container, and I run as I run a shell, and I will now run commands as the root user. For that I need the root password, and I will simply copy this command. There you go. There, I'm in a shell. Show databases. This works? Yes. Drop database cache. Yes, this works. Good, good. And can I do drop user? Drop user cache? Yes. Oh, I'm so good at SQL. I'm so good. Okay, so let's run init again. And now I create the status database. Same password, same username, different username. Okay. What else? What should we do here in the configuration? DB password is status MySQL password. DB prefix. So this is a prefix that is prepended to all tables. It's kind of obnoxious here. It allows you to have different applications that coexist in the same MySQL database. Let's prefix this with status cache. That way, if we keep the same status app but change from cache to something else, I can have a different prefix. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. We need an app key. So what's the app key here? The app key is we need to generate an application key. And for that we need to run PHP artisan key generate. This is not very convenient. This sucks. Artisan, what is this? Can't I just generate a random base 64 encoded key? Wait, what is this PHP artisan thing? PHP artisan key generate. I'm not very familiar with the PHP ecosystem. So this is a Laravel command. Key generate. This is stupid. And we need to generate this key ourselves, and it's Tutor that needs to generate the key. So how are we going to do that? We need to generate a random string and base 64 encoded. Let's try something. Oh, this is probably like the secret key in Django, so any random string could work. We just need to base 64 encode it. Okay, let's attempt to run this command. Docker run rmit this and run php artisan key :generate. What does this do? That doesn't work so well. Call to undefined method. Okay, so I guess we just need to generate a random string. And for that, I will do app cachet app key generate a random string. But the thing is that this string needs to be base 64 encoded. And this is probably not something that Jinja 2 provides out of the box, does it? Now we can see that I'm improvising here. This goes to show that I didn't prepare this presentation so much. Base 64. Your search did not match any document. No. I'm looking. Let's try again. No, there's no base 64 function in Jinja, so Tutor will have to provide the base 64 encoding. Do we need that? Do we need that? Isn't there a way to provide a non base64 encoded keys. Key generate. Okay, let's Google Laravel artisan key generate. Found the docs of Laravel. So key generate command will use PHP's secure random bytes generator, encrypting a value. And this is basically like the secret key from Django. So I need to base64 encode this. So let's batch Tutor. Let's batch Tutor. So Tutor passes all these functions to the templates. So these functions are all available to the templates and even from plugins. Oh, there's this long to base64 thing, which is used to encode encode some data for secret keys. So how do we encode stuff to base64 in Python? Some from base, yes, import b64 encode, b64 encode foobar, encode as bytes. And there's b64 encode and also URL save b64 encode. So which one should be using? Since this is just a secret key and not used in web, I guess we can use b64 encode. So let's define a new function, which is b64 encode, and we are going to call this b64 encode, string encode string. And we're going to go to utils and define this function. And actually, no, I'm not going to define this new function. I'm just going to do lambda, which takes a string as argument and returns base64 encode s. This should be enough. And here I need to import base64. So hopefully when you create new plugins, you don't have to add new stuff to the environment filters. But here, this is a welcome addition that other people can use. So the cachet app key is not b64 encoded, but I can b64 encode it in here. Cachet app key, so it's going to be the status cachet app key pipe b64 encode. Is this thing on? Clear config save. Is this working? This is not working because a bytes-like object is required, not string. Good catch. Here it's going to be encode. There you go. And now tutor config print value status cachet app key. We have this value, and when I b64 encode it, what's the bash command for b64 encoding? Base 64 echo this. So we should have this in the Docker Compose file. Cat env local Docker Compose .yaml. And yes, we have the same thing here. Except that here it's a byte string, which is really not what we want. So I will here return a decoded string. Black is behaving weirdly since I upgraded my IDE. Anyway, so this should work. Config save, enter, and cat env local Docker Compose. No, Docker Compose.yaml. And here we see that we have the right variable here. So this equal sign might create some issues. Hopefully not. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, this was a kind of been a pain in the ass to do. Let's do the rest of the configuration. We want to, okay, this app log error log. I have no idea what this does. What does this do? App log. I don't know what this is. Let's keep it as error log. App env we almost certainly want to run in production. App debug, yes, we do not want to debug, and we do not want to debug. This depends on MySQL, and we can, yeah. So, okay, finally we can actually get the cachet app running. Tutor local start status. Oh, by the way, so here the status container is named cachet. I should prefix it with the name of the plugin, status cachet. This makes it easier to identify. Tutor local start status cachet. Tutor config save. And cachet install is not defined. Right. So is Docker image broken? What is Docker image supposed to do? The Docker image. Whoa. The Docker image runs Nginx? We don't want to do that. The Docker image runs supervisor? Oh no, 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 no. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want the Docker image to run supervisor, Nginx, PHP, FPM. No, please God, no. No, no, no. I just want this to run a simple lightweight server, like a WSGI server, something like that. Oh no, this is not run at runtime. So what does the entry point do? Oh God. No, no, no. check init, check it, initialize system, mail host. Oh yeah, we need to configure mailing. And Redis? Redis? What? This range PHP FPM. Oh, this is not going to be exciting. Sometimes, yeah. Oh, so initialize system. So this is probably what is being run. Cachet install is not cachet install. So initdb runs cachet install, and the problem is that the cache image does not find it. So is the cache image actually broken? Let's close this. Installing cache with Docker. Sometimes you want to not count on the images provided by a third party, but instead build the images yourself. In that case, I know nothing about cache and very little about PHP, so this might not be a great idea. Cache Docker latest. Is the latest image different from version 2.3.18? It looks different, but they were both pushed on January 15. They don't. So latest 2.3.18 looks identical to 2.3.17. Huh. Can we try the latest image? Sofiane asked, is there a Django app that can do the job? I did not find any, but if you find one, then I'll be happy to switch from cache to something else, because I'm much better with Django than with PHP. And yeah, I definitely do not want Docker image to run all of this supervisor, PHP, FPM, Nginx. No. I don't. I think the entry point also mentions postfix. Oh yeah, no, I don't want to run postfix in my Docker image. No fucking way. So this is called an omnibus image, so a Docker image that runs everything in a single container, and it's very inconvenient to debug, to troubleshoot, because there are many services running at the same time in the container. If one of them crashes, then the others stay up, and one of them is down. So Docker should be the one process acting as a process manager, and you should not need an additional process manager inside your Docker image. So maybe we should start building the image ourselves. So there is a bug in the Docker entry point. It runs this cachet install command, whereas it should probably be running app install as instructed here. So when is this initdb called? It's called when it detects that the tables do not exist. So what we should do is to actually run this init command as part of the deployment. So let's do that. I will create a hook, yet another hook, which will be for cachet, and in cachet I will run init. Actually, it's not going to be cachet, it's going to be status cachet, because it's going to run in the status cachet. No, wait. It's going to be the cache, sorry about that. It's going to be the cachet hook. And in there, I'm going to run php app install. And this init hook will run in a job that will be similar to the Docker Compose jobs here. So I need to create a job that will run the cache image. And again, there's a convenient patch here. So I need to implement this patch. Templates, patches. I create a patch here. And I create a cache job, which will be inspired by the forum job. Image will be the same as the status cache image. And because it's going to be the same, I'm going to move this to a variable, again a default variable. So cache docker image. And so wait, should this be docker image cache or cache docker image? We'll see. Cache, so it's going to be status cache docker image. Let's move this to here. And it's not going to run, it's going to have the same configuration as the cache service. But it's really inconvenient to have to copy paste this environment. So what I'm going to do is to create an environment file, which will be in the env file. And I will just move this there. And I'm going to point, instead of environment, I'm going to use env file. And this is going to be inside plugins. So let's tutor config save. And now we should see the environment in plugins. Status app env. And this is relative to the env local Docker Compose file. So the relative path should be plugins status apps env. This should be fine. Much simpler, much simpler. So let's tutor config save. And now I need to, so I have this init job. So this installs the application, but does it also run migration? Migrate DB. Yeah, we should almost certainly run migrate DB and seed DB. Seed DB as well? I'm not sure. What about initialize system? Should we run that? So this we don't need to do. Check DB init. No. Check init DB. Check configured. Check send mail. No, no, no. Initialize system. Define bunch of variables. Oh god, we're probably going to have to do that. No. Do we? Not sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to need to run migrate. So let's run this as part of the init. I need to declare this hook, this init hook. So this init hook runs after mysql. It's going to run. It's going to be the cachet hook. So tutor config save and tutor local inits for the status plugin. Mapping values are not allowed here. Compose.yaml. What's at line 163 of this file? Oh yeah, so there's the image typo. Yes, there it is. Okay. Creating the database, and now could not open input file app install. Awesome. Awesome. So let's try to do this manually. So tutorial local, I will exec in the container and see what commands I can run there. Local run status cachet. I want to run bash. Do we have bash or is it just sh? Yes, we have bash. Where am I? I'm in var www.html. php app install. Could not open input file app install. Yes. No. So wait. Is it app install or is it? No, PHP artisan. This looks better, doesn't it? Cachet install. Yes, PHP artisan. Yes, this looks much better, except that it's complaining about environment values which are not defined. This is going to be fun. We're going to have to create a bunch of environment variables. Kidding, this is not going to be fun at all. Cache driver, APC. What the fuck is an APC cache driver? Cache driver APC? What the fuck is that? Is that a Laravel thing? Any Laravel fanboy here that can help us out? APC cache driver. So you know what? I'm just going to add values there until cachet stops complaining. So we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. What we do need is this reference page. Cache driver should be APC. And now I can run init again. It looks like it's working. What is less? So the output is slightly worrying. Application key set successfully, and the value here is different. So I suspect that it's not using the application key that we defined. So first of all, let's interrupt this. No, we don't want to run this. And let's run it again and see if they generate the same application key. Yeah, different value. Oh, fucking hell. Was I ambitious in trying to define this? In trying to get this to work? So the app key should be properly defined. Why isn't it defined? So do we have an app key environment variable here? Yes, we do. Oh, it's not prefixed by base 64. We should prefix it here. Maybe if the key is not properly defined, it just generates a new one. Let's try it again. So we have this sext it doesn't look right. If I run it again, it's going to change again. Ah, bordel de merde. Ah! So, it is not consistent in, it is not using the app key that we defined. So what is the Docker entry point doing with this app key? Here it generates it saves this in the .env file. So what's in this .env file? Oh, putain. So this is a manually generated environment file. And we probably need to do something about this. So what does it do? What does it do with this .env file? It doesn't do anything, it's just there. So it's probably sourced by the cachet app. Peter suggests that I use Google for searching on Stack Overflow. Maybe I don't search on Stack Overflow enough. I just use generic DuckDuckGo search. Maybe I should rely on Stack Overflow more. But I'm pretty sure there's a Stack Overflow command for DuckDuckGo. Like, how do we duck? What are shebangs for searching on DuckDuckGo? Can we go search on Stack Overflow? Maybe I should ask this question on Stack Overflow. I'll do that later. But there's probably like, oh yeah, I know. It's openedx / Stack Overflow, Stack SO. No, it's not working. Stack Overflow. No, not working. I don't know. I will need to investigate this. Anyway, so we have this .env file, and we should be doing something about it. I have. So, how is this application using .env? It is not okay. I think it's really time that we actually clone the cachet repo to figure out how it works. Cachet, there you go. I have this third-party folder where I clone stuff, where I add random code repos to investigate. And we're going to search how cachet uses the .env file. It's really a pain in the butt that they don't use standard environment variables. But maybe we can simply mount, yes, this is probably a good thing. Maybe we can simply mount the env file, the local env file, to the .env file inside the cachet app. This is almost certainly the way to go. Can we try that while it's working? I wish it was easier to run cachet. It would make... I didn't expect such difficulties when I started working on this. As a Tutor plugin development tutorial, we spend more time researching cache issues than Tutor plugins, which is too bad, I guess. How do we find a quick fix for this? How do we find a solution to this? Yeah, I will attempt to mount the env file to .env. So instead of defining this env file, I will create a volumes. I will mount the env file inside the var w html.env, and I will mount this as read-only to make sure that it's not being modified. Let's try this. And now I can attempt to init again. And maybe it will complain that some variables are missing. Read-only file system. Yes, indeed. No, you're not allowed to modify this. So this is the smoking gun. This is the thing that shows that cachet attempts to modify the env file. So it's actually Laravel that stores content in .env. Yeah, Sofiane, if you manage to find an alternative to mounting the env file, then I'm much open to it. Okay, let's take a look at cachet git grep env. Oh god. Cachet update config command handler write env. Oh god, no. It uses a .env, so .env should be loading. What if we still use this env file and instead of mounting as read-only here, we create a new like, so it's in data let's do this. Let's try to mount a runtime env file inside var whtml. And now let's take a look at the rendered env.runtime file. No, okay, we're trying to mount a directory because this file doesn't exist, so it doesn't know. Oh wait, I have another idea. So Laravel is using .env. So it's probably this npm package. And maybe we can tell .env that the configuration should be loaded from somewhere else. Yeah, so by default, .env reads the .env file, assigning to process env. The thing is that Laravel also writes to this .env file, which is madness. So this mounting the runtime env file. This is not going to work. Let's get rid of this. And instead, clear config save local run. And now we have this env file here. Let's move this file. .env.backup. And now what happens if I run php artisan app install and I create a new env file? So it did not recreate a .env file. So if the I don't okay, so this was modified at 10:57. What if I run this again? Yeah. Okay. So the .env file is empty. Its contents were not changed, but still it was written to. So this file needs a write permission. So we need a writable empty file there. And the application key changed from one run to the next. I'm getting tired of this. Okay, let's mount as a writable file. I hate this, but I hate to mount configuration files as writable because, well, if they are modified, then you're going to lose the modifications whenever you run tutor config save. So run php. So now let's take a look at the env file. Yes, there I have the app key. Perfect. Now I can run php artisan app install. What do you mean permission denied? Okay, so this is not running as root user, it's running as what, by the way? User. Echo user ID, user. It's running as what? Who am I? www data. It's running as user www data, and it does not have the rights to write the .env file. I swear it's usually easier to create Tutor plugin. So install commands. Yeah, so cachet writes to .env. Yeah, new .env. String replace. What surprises me is that our app key, our environment variable app key is not taken into account. And it doesn't make sense. What is environment path? So why is it changing the app key? Why is it not happy with this app key here? No. Okay, we cannot mount this as read-write. Let's backtrack. Move env to .env backup, touch env. PHP artisan app install. Application key set successfully. Why is it? Let's try this in verbose mode. This app key is not present anywhere. Oh, this should be set to a random 32 character string. Oh, wait. Status cachet app key. So let's try to generate a random 32 character string. How do we do that? How do we do that? Here, utils, random string. Let's define this function. Random string 32 characters. String. There you go. And now, now that this is a 32 character key, is it taken into account? Import base 64, base 64, base 64, encode. No, different values here and here. Different values, different values, different values. Declaration key. So this is a Laravel thing. App install, app update. I have no idea how to make progress with this. So how can we so the Docker image is not great. We could rewrite it from scratch, but then we would still have to figure out what are the proper values for these environment variables. Okay. Artisan, oh, so this is the command, artisan migrate. Can we try that? And this is going to be force, because we don't want any interaction. So this command should be part of the hook. And we still didn't get a working cache container, which really sucks. How do we start the container? We run start system, and start system does what? It runs supervisor, supervisor.conf. And this supervisor thing is copied from the Docker conf, and it runs both the web server and the queue worker. And the web server will be run as this. Which doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah, so this is the PHP FPM configuration file. And we have to interpret this as a PHP command. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to call it quits. I was not successful in creating a Tutor plugin that runs cachet to check for the status of the openedx platform, which sucks. Sofiane suggests that we create a plugin to deploy a static marketing website, something like Hugo. This might be a great idea. So what is Hugo? Is it like a static website generator? Is it like Jekyll? Fastest framework for building websites. Yeah, I guess that could work. So Hugo takes care of generating a static website, and then we have to tell edX platform to use the static website as a marketing website. Sofiane, you know what? I think that's a great idea, and I think we're going to do that next time. It's now, I've been streaming for close to 2 hours now, yeah, I'm pissed that I didn't get this plugin to work, but yeah, that's the thing. Since I didn't prepare well enough, I faced unexpected difficulties. But basically, this plugin, as we develop it, is ready for publication. It has a README that explains how to install it. Just pip install it, and then enable it, and off you go. Then you can run through a local quick start, and it should deploy your new services, provided they work. But so we saw the mechanism of plugin patches that add content to Tutor templates. We saw how plugins can implement hooks to initialize services. What we didn't see is how we expose containers to the outside world. And for that, basically, you just configure Caddy to point to the container services. And for that, you need to implement the Caddy patch, which is Caddy file. So what I propose is that we call it a day for today, and next time we will implement Sofiane's suggestion to run a static website as a marketing front page for openedx. In other news, you might want to attend the the webinar that I'm doing for Tutor maintainers, which will describe the structure of the Tutor source code. So you might be interested in that if you want to understand how Tutor works and how it is architectured. So this will happen on Thursday at 3 p.m. Paris time. There is the Zoom invite on this forum topic. I will be happy to see you there. Hopefully it will be more successful than our session today. Really sorry about that, guys. Still hoping to see you next time. Yeah, no hard feelings, I hope. Okay, see you next week, guys. Bye, everyone.